What is going on, guys? So as the video title suggests, I have officially quit my engineering job after 5.5 years of working as an electrical component engineer for Lockheed Martin. And this video is going to highlight kind of everything leading up to this decision, how and why I made this decision when I did, and then what we have moving forward, and a lot of miscellaneous things to consider if you're trying to do something similar or basically do something similar where you're replacing your corporate income or your corporate job with a creative path or an entrepreneurial path. And so first things first, it really starts back in 2018 when I launched my first brand. So I've been working on different things even prior to 2018, but in 2018 I started working on the brand that I'm actually wearing right now, which is Freestyle. And it was supposed to be an apparel brand that I was supposed to launch, and I was going to launch it and basically become a millionaire and quit my job and only have to work for a couple of months. That was the whole idea. Now, given it takes a little bit of delusion to get started, because you need self-belief that doesn't necessarily exist yet to be able to take the risks to build something, right? And so the idea was that I would just start the brand and instantly become rich, and that was the whole goal. Little did I know in 2019 when I started my job, it would take me 5.5 years to reach this decision and get to a point where I was able to make this decision. And so there's a lot of backstory. I'll cover it in a different video where, I made a lot of mistakes, and I'll cover those mistakes too. Business mistakes, investment mistakes, trusting the wrong people, listening to the wrong people, and really like the path of believing in yourself and doing something that fulfills you. And so, and I'll also in a different video talk about how I started Little Dings, which is the Taiwanese street food concept that ultimately brought me to this point where I'm able to leave the corporate job. So back to the question. The question is, how did you get to this decision of leaving the corporate world? And so the background is that I've always wanted to leave the corporate world, but I didn't appreciate it as much as I was supposed to. And it wasn't until, maybe a year into corporate when I realized that the only reason why I was able to do all of the business stuff was because the corporate job was funding it and keeping it alive, and was able to basically keep me afloat when I was making those mistakes. And so now we're at a point where the last 2.5 years of working on Little Things and working in the food industry, we've gotten to a point where I'm pretty much able to not take out a lot of money, but be able to pay myself enough money to where I can ultimately stay alive. Like, that's it, the bare minimum. And the other part of that is that the opportunities that we have coming up would be able to change that, like be able to increase that income portion to be able to not match, but start to build up to where what I was making in the corporate world, which was good money, right? And the reason why this decision is coming now is partially because of those opportunities, because in the past 2 years, we've mainly only really focused on events and the event space, which is pretty much all of weekends. And so I would work my engineering job throughout the week, and then I would be working food on the weekends and outside of my work hours, right? So I would go to set up at 6 p.m. after work on a Thursday, and then Friday after work I would go to work and vend food, and then Saturday, Sunday I'd go and work and vend food. Sunday I'd clean up, and then Monday I'd wake up and then start corporate over again. So that's been my life for the last 2 years. I pretty much worked 7-day weeks for the last 3 years, and I'll go over a little bit more of that in detail of how different people work differently, and this is how I work, right? So that was the main reason why I didn't leave the job the last 2 years, was that I was able to just work 7 days a week, and then I could do both full-time jobs pretty much. But now we're getting to a point where there are some things coming up down the pipeline where I won't be able to do, well, I won't be able to take those opportunities if I stay in corporate. And if I do that, if I stayed in corporate and I don't take those opportunities, I'd be letting myself down, I'd be letting my business partners down, and I'd be letting my team down as well, because as much as they have other opportunities out there, like as their leader, I need to be constantly growing and making sure that we're putting opportunities on the table so that they're able to have the option to work with us full time if they choose to do so. And obviously also for my business partners, I'd be doing them a disservice in not giving them the time that this business needs to grow if I were to stay in corporate, because the whole point is to build a larger business so that we can ultimately sustain ourselves with the business that we do and not have to depend on other jobs or corporate jobs, right? And so that's pretty much led to us now, where in 2025 and moving forward, we're going to be focusing, not taking away focus from the event space, but focusing other efforts on catering, whether it's for corporate, whether it's for events or weddings, where we actually have our first wedding catering gig in February, which would be really exciting to do. But that, and then brick and mortar, where we're going to be building storefronts. And that's not something that I can only do on the weekends. That requires pretty much full-time commitment. And we haven't signed any contracts yet, so I can't really say too much about it, but that's what's going to be happening moving forward, where I can't take time away from that, because that's going to be such a significant project in terms of our business growth. And so, the last 2 years we've gone up and down the West Coast. Pretty much all the PTO that I took last year was to work, which is hilarious, because I would come back from PTO and the team or my manager would be like, "Oh, Derek, how was your vacation?" And realistically, my vacation was driving up to Seattle to do Bite of Seattle with Foodieland, which is this poster back here, right? And so, a lot of my time was spent going up and down the West Coast last year. We did events Vegas, Arizona, from San Diego all the way up to the Bay Area, Sacramento, all the way up to Seattle and back down, and everywhere in between pretty much. And so now next year, or this year and years moving forward, we're going to be expanding to not only the South, but also the East. And so there's 3 of us, and I'm super excited because I love challenges. I love that there's so much to learn and to do. And so that's partially why I love being in business, is that there's not really one day where there's not a new challenge or a new thing to learn or a new thing to take on. Like every day is pretty new. Even if, it's repetitive in terms of doing events over and over again, every time there's new things going on, because there's new people coming in, there's new people that are training, there's new people that are taking a stab at managing, there's new food items that we're trying to add, there's new things that we're testing. It's always new. And so that's part of the exciting part about business. And so another part about why I've reached this decision at this point in time is that it's been a long time coming, and we not like, yes, we make enough, but also I need to take this chance, because I think that for myself, something that I've always done throughout the years is to seek discomfort. Whenever I'm uncomfortable, I find that I'm able to grow more and faster than when I am kind of comfortable. And that's actually something that I really recommend to anybody who's pursuing anything creative, anything business related. And that's something that I wanted to cover right after this. But I always seek discomfort, because I think that's what leads to the most growth, whether that's moving to a new place or taking on a new venture, or expanding, scaling the business, like that stuff is fun to me, and that requires time and effort as well, which again, corporate would hinder me from taking on from using that time to scale up the business. I will say that the only reason why I'm even in this position is because I did have a corporate job, and I was able to work engineering for so long, and I was able to do a lot of stupid things, make a lot of stupid mistakes, where engineering kept me afloat, like I mentioned earlier. And so now I wanted to kind of take a tiny bit of time to talk about what I think built me up to this position and this place to be able to make this decision, not in regards to business, but in regards to like mentally, physically, and the habits and whatnot, like the hacks, if you will. And so if you're trying to do something in business or the creative route, whether it's you want to start a podcast, or you want to be a dancer, a creator, an influencer, you want to start a gym, you want to start, right? Anything. You want to be in the food space. There are a couple things that I've learned throughout the years that is pretty much universal to successful entrepreneurs, and things that I've noticed that have worked out really well for myself as well. And one of the main things that I think is completely underrated that people don't talk about enough is discipline. The difference between discipline and motivation. Because one of the most common questions that I've gotten in the last 6 years of doing business is, Derek, how do you stay so motivated? Derek, like, what motivates you to continue to go? And I will say that in the beginning, like, one of the first things that I did in my entrepreneur journey is do 75 Hard, which is a program started by Andy Frisella. He's one of the guys that, no, sorry, that's not the right brand. But he's one of the guys that he is the guy, that started the program. And the program is essentially 75 days of 5 tasks that you repeat every single day. You do it every single day for 75 days. And if you miss a task or you miss a day, you fail. And that's the whole premise of it. The goal of that program, and I see a lot of comments online all the time, like, oh, like, what if I change this? What if I do 75 medium, 75 soft, whatever, right? The goal of the program is for you to understand to continuously do things every single day where you are still doing them on the days that you don't feel like it. That's the whole point of discipline. And so when people ask me, oh, like, how do you stay so motivated? I don't. I really honestly do not. I don't stay motivated. I'm not motivated most of the time. I've just gotten so used to doing that I just do. I don't really think about it anymore. And it might seem weird because like normally I think it's hard to think about what I used to think or how I used to feel, but I will say I can probably, like, at least in college, there'd be days where I'd wake up a little bit groggier and I'd be like, okay, like I don't feel like doing this today, or I'm not going to the gym today. I don't feel like it. Now, there's really not like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym because I don't feel like it. It's okay. Like, these days are gym days. This day is rest day. I have travel and event this week, so I'm only going to be able to fit in 2 gym sessions, and I need to hit those 2 gym sessions. And so it's not so much about, oh, like I feel like it, I don't feel like it. It's more about, okay, here's what you need to do, and you just have to go and do it. And now I'm able to do that because I've done it for so long. And I do recommend trying out 75 Hard just so you can understand like where your discipline level is at, because there's obviously things that you need to be able to do across time, like repetitively, to be able to build discipline. And part of the discipline is self-confidence, like the confidence that you have in yourself. And so by building discipline, not only am I able to move and operate without motivation or without like without feeling like it, I've also built up a large sense of self-confidence in the sense that I am able to do these things because I've done it for so long and I've proved it to myself that I'm able to do it. And so that's one of the things that I think people overlook in the process, which is like, oh, like I'm going to build a business, but only when I'm motivated. No, you should. You don't have to start after you've built discipline, but you do have to work on your discipline to be able to succeed in some way, because, you know, I think there's so many statistics out there in regards to number of episodes for a podcast. Like it's something crazy. Don't quote me on this, but it's something crazy. Like 90-something% of podcasts don't make it past their 16th episode. So as long as you pass 16, like you've already made it into that bracket. Or like X amount of podcasts or X amount of people don't get past their this number of YouTube videos, or X amount of people don't survive after like a year or 2 years, like X percentage of people drop out of business after this amount of time. And a lot of the cases, a lot of it is because people aren't disciplined. Like you don't have the discipline to keep going. Like, oh, I feel so motivated, record 5 episodes, and then, oh, I don't feel like I want to do it anymore, and then you drop it, right? So that's number one. Number two is kind of tied with 3, so I guess they're together, but it's taking risks and taking action. They kind of go hand in hand, because you're taking risk when you are taking action, in the sense that what if it goes wrong, or what if it doesn't go 100% like how you expect it to. And so part of like that whole idea is to not discard the whole planning process, but to reduce the amount of planning that you do for whatever it is that you want to launch or put out, because the amount of planning that you do actually hinders your success rate when you launch. And it might seem counterintuitive, but let me explain. When you plan so much, you expect it to go the way of your plan, because you've essentially spent so much time planning that it should be 100%. Now, it's as much as I hate to say it, you can't. Like, it is better to take action, because there's just so many different variables that you don't know yet, because you've never launched something, to where you can't plan for it. But the problem with planning too much is that when you hit those road bumps that you didn't plan for, you get discouraged, because you spent all this time planning. It should be perfect. It should go really well. And then you launch, or you go through it, and it's nothing like you planned, right? And so that's something that to really consider when you are trying to start off in a creative space, or are trying to launch a business, is at the end of the day, you should just launch first. And there's a really good book that I recommend, is Ready, Fire, Aim. So you just have to be ready, and then you fire first, then you aim. A lot of people think, oh, well, shouldn't I get ready and then aim and then fire? Well, the problem with that is that the aiming part takes a lot of time away from what you actually need to be doing, which is market research. Like, will people like this product? Will people enjoy what I'm putting out? Maybe you put it out, you expect this market to like it, but actually this market likes it. But you've planned it so much for this market that this market can't even see it anymore, right? So it's funny how it works, but it's also something that I learned, because when I first started freestyle, I did ready, aim, fire. And I kept firing at places that it didn't work. But unfortunately, I was so insistent on making it work with that target, that the targets that it might have worked with never even saw it. So one of my biggest recommendations to new creatives and entrepreneurs is to just take action. It's okay to fail. It's okay to take risks. Like, when you take a risk and when you take action, you give yourself the information that you were missing during the planning stage in the first place. So it's like, the more you take action, the more you can learn, the more you can adjust. And I know, I get it. It's scary. I felt that way too, even for launching little things, and that was 4 or 5 years into my entrepreneurial path already. Like it was still scary to me. And again, I'll put a link to, I'll do a video in depth on Little Ding's startup and growth. But for now, I just want to focus on like the decision to leave and kind of like what principles you need to build on to be able to kind of follow in maybe the same footsteps or help you in your struggles in doing something similar to what I'm doing. But yeah, those are the main things: discipline and taking action. Like those are the two things that you need to get used to. I will say some of the other things to learn, and some of the other things to learn is like switching your perspective from the perspective of like, oh, like 99% of businesses fail or something like that, right? To flip it and be like 99% of people do this, and that's why they fail. So like, for example, if we're talking about consistency, I would say the majority of people who start business are not consistent. And when you're not consistent, you lose. So if you're saying that 80% of these 99% of people fail business because they lack consistency, well, you've just made it into like a much higher chance in bracket by being consistent, right? So it's flipping the narrative and the perspective of that to be able to understand like what it is, what are the common denominators for people that fail, and what are the common denominators for people that succeed, and then understanding that and following in the path of those who have succeeded, right? So that's a perspective shift. The other one is ego. I have a massive ego. I always had a massive ego, but you have to learn to control your ego. And in the case of business and creative, you need to drop your ego. You succeed the most when you admit that you know nothing or you know the least. When you are able to admit that you know the least, you have the most opportunity to learn. So for example, if you're at a conference for business and you try to put on a bravado and try to put on like, oh, like I'm Mr. Know-It-All, I know so much about business, I know blah, 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 then at the end of the day, like people are going to, like, no one's going to know that you need help in specific areas because they think either they think you're an expert or they think you're bullshitting. Both are not good for you in terms of you learning things that you need to be learning. So whenever you go into a room, the goal is to be essentially the stupidest in the room. Like that's the goal. You want to be the least, you want to know the least amount of things in the room that you're about to go into because you want to be able to learn the most. You want to take away the most. You want to be the person who gets the most out of the event, the networking session, the whatever, which is again, not something that like most people will talk about because most of the time you want to be someone who's the most well-known like in the room or the most knowledgeable in the room. But it's backwards because to learn the most, you need to know the least. So that's another thing to consider. So those are kind of the things that I've built throughout the years to be able to get myself to a point to build a business, to get to this point where I'm able to leave. And you know, we have so many things coming up. There's so many new opportunities for us, and for a lot of, honestly, there's going to be opportunities for those of you watching as well, whether it's to work with me or to see the behind the scenes of food events or invest with us down in the future, because it is coming. All of these things are coming, and it's very exciting. I'm super happy to be able to share this news that I have left corporate because of all the doors that it opens for the future of the business and future opportunities for those of you who have either been following along with my journey or have been friends or watching my videos and whatnot. It also opens up more vlogs, more videos, because now I'm able to do more traveling, like travel throughout the week, kind of pull out the camera for behind the scenes of events. I don't think I'm able to do music festivals though, because there's a restriction on recording for that, so I don't know how much I can show for those things. But behind the scenes of building a shop, behind the scenes of shopping for things, shopping for suppliers, behind the scenes of permitting, building, behind the scenes of catering, behind the scenes of like serving, and all of that fun stuff, and including traveling. So the future is very bright for us, and obviously there's going to be things that don't go exactly as planned, like I kind of talked about, which is like we're going to be taking action, and then we're going to be adjusting as we go. We have no real experience in brick and mortar, so it's not going to look pretty in the beginning. But we have a lot of people who have successful restaurants and brick and mortar spaces that we're going to be asking for help and learning from prior to us opening, right? Same thing with catering. Like there's going to be a lot of learning in this process. That's going to be a lot of fun. But you can expect that this year and moving forward, we're going to be taking over this year. We're going to be kind of expanding across the country, and moving forward, we're slowly going to make our way across the world. Which again, like that's been my plan all along since the beginning. My goal has always been to build international franchises, especially with Asian food, and we're going to be starting that journey very soon. And so it's always a good time to, like, no matter how far we get in business and how far I go in business, I'll always be at the starting line, because regardless of how far I get, like there's always so much more to learn. There's always so many more people that are ahead of me that I want to learn from. And actually, that is a really good hack as well. That goes along with the ego side of things, where it's like I don't know anything. Like I don't know anything, so I'm just gonna go out and I'm gonna be able to learn from other people, and I'm gonna be able to grow from it. And every time I grow from it, every time I'm able to grow from new information, or from someone teaching me something new, I will be able to take that and grow the business with it. And every time I grow the business with it, that grows the team's resources, the team's income, my income, and pretty much all of the above is going to be able to grow more from me learning. So super excited for the future. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this video. I know it's been long, but there's so much to cover, and there's so much more to cover. So expect more videos, expect more stories, expect more behind the scenes, and then soon I'll be posting a video, or I will be going to one of the guys that I owe a lot of my success to, or current success to. His name's Drew. He runs one of the biggest food pages in Vegas, Unlocked. He also runs Sorry Not Sorry and With Love Always. I haven't been to With Love Always yet. I've been out of town for too long, and I'm gonna be checking it out. But I'll also be telling the story of how he's inspired me to go on this journey, and some of the lessons that he's taught me. We actually have a podcast episode together, so I'll link that down below. But I'll be talking about it a lot more in the episode where I go out and visit his ice cream location and his smash burger location, which is the new one. But yeah, for now, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.